Hello, advanced learners. Greg and Mary Daphne here, and we're talking about introductions in professional settings and personal settings. So the way this is going to work is we're going to have a little bit of conversation so that you'll get some listening practice and some conversation practice. And we'll pause every now and then to sort of unpack and talk about maybe a term we used or an expression we used.
Like unpack?
Like unpack. So what is unpack? I love this expression personally. You can think of like unpacking a suitcase, right? When you are on a trip and you go to your hotel and you are ready to settle into your hotel room, you open your suitcase and you unpack, right? You take out the contents of whatever is in your suitcase. And so when you're talking about using unpack in a conversation, let's unpack this topic. Let's look at it and talk about it in different ways and try to understand it. Let's, take out all the pieces of whatever thing that you're talking about.
Another word that you'll hear used similarly to unpack is to deconstruct, right? To construct is to build something up. To deconstruct is to take it apart and sort of see what's inside it. And that's really what unpack is about. You're opening it up to look at the inner parts of whatever topic or idea is being discussed.
Exactly. So you can use either word for this concept. All right. So let's first look at a situation where you're introducing yourself to someone in person for the first time. And Greg and I are going to be two people who have not met each other before. And we're in a casual setting like a coffee shop. So here it goes. Hi, I'm Mary Daphne.
Hi, very nice to meet you. I'm Greg.
Nice to meet you. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I'm so glad you could set aside some time to meet today. It's a great honor to meet the Mary Daphne.
Oh, well, please don't, I'm a little bashful. I'm getting embarrassed, but I'm really happy that we got to meet up at this coffee shop because I wanted to talk to you and sort of unpack the project that you sent to our office.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to talk about it. I think this project that we're going to work on together has a lot of potential to generate substantial value for your customers and clients. So hopefully we have the opportunity to work together.
That's great. So should we get some coffee?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to place an order.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so that's one example of two people sort of in a professional mindset, but meeting each other in a casual setting. So we shook hands. Now let's talk about an alternative to shaking hands, especially in today's climate, in today's world, right? Today's climate you can think of, that's a good expression.
Yeah, today's climate. I like that.
Let's unpack that. Think of it as like what's going on in the world, what's going on in your city, what's going on in the news. Are things, very positive, which I feel like the news really is. Like
it's the state of affairs, right? So the climate is the weather. So the climate is snowy, it's rainy, it's sunny, right? That's the climate. Or it's warm, humid, right? These are things that are day to day. So and they affect sort of our
mood
experience, right?
Yeah.
So when you say the political climate, you're basically saying, what's the political weather right now? Is it,
is it sunny?
Are people angry? Are people working together? Is it sort of a cooperative climate?
Right.
Or what's the economic climate right now? The economic climate would say, is the economy going up? Are stock markets rising?
Yes.
Right? So, I think climate's a great, and it's used in this sort of abstract way to refer to the state of affairs.
Exactly. So that's a wonderful explanation of it. And, you can use this in your conversation with people. So like we just said, right now, a handshake might not be very alluring to people, right? People might shy away from it. They might.
And certain cultures don't handshake, period.
Very true. Very true. So in American culture, we typically do. But now people are more open to alternatives. So with nonverbal communication, there's other things that you can do, which is great, like waving, right? And when you are close to someone within close proximity, like Greg and I are right now, you wouldn't really wave. Waving is more of when you're a little further apart, and it's when you're trying to greet someone. So, for example, if I came into the coffee shop and I see Greg sitting down, and I know that Greg is Greg because we exchanged, work emails, and I see his little profile picture, so I know that's Greg. So
Maybe you had a video call.
Maybe we had a video call. And I identified him. And so when I come into the coffee shop and I see him seated, I can just wave, right? So I'm acknowledging that, he's there.
Yeah.
What are some other nonverbals that you can think of for greetings?
Yeah.
2 hands.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a friend, you can do that, right?
Yeah.
Hey, right? Basically a show of delight that you're seeing the person. But, the waving is great from a distance, like you're saying. When you get up closer, and the intention is to not shake hands. In the U.S., almost always there's going to be a lot of pressure to shake hands.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to shake hands, that's, of course, you're right. And what you can do instead is just use very open body language, right? So if you're sitting down at a table, one of the things I like to do if I don't want to shake hands is I sort of put my hands on the table, both hands on the table in front of them, and lean in and say, hello, it's so good to see you. Right? So you're making a clear sort of body movement demonstrating that you're happy to see them and that you're greeting them.
Right.
And what that does is it says, hello, I'm acknowledging your presence. I have nothing to hide. Here are my hands.
Right.
And that should be sufficient. It shows sufficient warmth to overcome the fact that you didn't shake hands.
Right. I love that. Really leaning in also is showing, it's signaling to the people that you're speaking with, the one person or many people, that you are, like you said, you're open to discussion, to meeting them for the first time, to talking to them. You can also kind of nod a little bit or put your hand on your heart, right, on your chest and say, hi, I'm Mary Daphne.
That's a good one.
So nice to meet you, right? And also with the bowing and the leaning in, and it's not so much a bow, but a nod, right? Because I know that in Japanese culture, there's different levels of bowing, and that's very important to know how much to do that. But in American culture, you can kind of just nod and people will understand. And I think, we should keep a pulse on it. Another expression, we should kind of be aware of what's going on. Let's keep tabs on, the climate, not the political climate necessarily, but the climate. Are people
social climate, I would say. Yeah.
Are people comfortable, touching each other's hands, or maybe it's an elbow tap, maybe it's a hey,
Yeah.
This would not really be appropriate in a professional setting. This is more like your friends, right?
Yeah.
So being aware of that. So in a professional setting, if it's a handshake, that's fine. But other than a handshake, you wouldn't really be touching.
Yeah, I think physical contact in professional settings tends to be quite limited.
Yeah.
And some people would argue that that's not necessarily a good thing, that we're human, as humans, physical contact is part of how we communicate.
Right.
But it is the state of affairs.
Yes.
And so instead, using this open language, open body language is going to go a long way toward demonstrating you're welcoming them.
Right.
And and we talked about before the idea of showing your hands, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these greetings, whether it's shaking hands, waving, or you're saying putting your hand to your chest, right? These are all showing your hands.
Yeah. A sweeping outward motion,
right?
Welcome everyone, nice to meet you.
When you show your hands, you're basically saying I have nothing to hide.
Right.
And that's a big part of greeting, right?
Definitely. Especially with first introductions, when you're, we put out the lesson about self-introductions. That's really for the first time that you're meeting someone and they don't know who you are yet. They've never really interacted with you in person. You might have had a Zoom call or some email exchanges or a phone call, but being in person is different, right? There's more
Yeah.
high resolution. We can see the person much better than we would on camera, right?
Yep.
So the hands, right? Keep that in mind. That's very important. And again, like Greg said, you don't have to shake necessarily, but you do want to be mindful of, showing them, right? And this could be as easy as, hi.
Acknowledging their presence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in a professional greeting, let's say we're at a networking event, which is a great place to meet people, especially people that you might eventually work with or team up with, right? For like a side hustle. We'll talk about side hustles in the next live stream and lesson. But so in a professional setting, let's say Greg and I now are meeting each other for the very first time. We've not exchanged emails. We haven't spoken on the phone, nothing like that. And I am now I'm going to be holding let me take a sip, a cup of water. And let's say I have a plate of food. Because normally at these events, at least in my memory of going to these in the past, which I don't go to anymore, but I would have like a plate of some hors d'oeuvres and a beverage. All right, so now I have my my drink and my food. Okay, so I might see Greg and I say, "Hi, oh Greg, nice to meet you." So I see Greg's name tag, right? I say, "Oh Greg, nice to meet you. I'm Mary Daphne." What do I do here? I don't have hands available. So what I typically do is I still motion outward. I still say, "Hi, nice to meet you." You don't have to do it as exuberantly, right? As fervently with so much energy. If you want to, you can. I don't want to scare him away.
Like, all right.
But what do you do when you have a plate of food and a beverage in hand?
I think that's what you have to do, right? And in fact, I would actually recommend that as a strategy if you don't want to shake people's hands.
Exactly.
Just put stuff in your hands. And you just say, you don't have to say it, but you're implying that I would shake your hand except for the fact if I could, but I have my hands full.
Right. You could be holding like a book or something.
But that's where I think that nod, right? The acknowledging their presence. That's all you need, right? That's all you really need. And you get past it very quickly and get into the actual meat of your conversation.
Right.
The meat of the conversation is another phrase, right? You get into the meat of something. Meat, of course, is something you eat.
Right.
And we think of it as like the most sort of substantive part of our meal, right?
Exactly. Like if you think of a hamburger or even like a tofu burger,
Yeah.
That's like what
you're not paying for the bread, you're paying for the meat.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you talk about getting to the meat of something, you're getting to the most valuable, the most important part of what you're talking about.
Right. So after saying hello, and you could even like sort of gesture to your full hands, like, oh, full hands, I would say, hi, Greg. So what brings you here? What brings you to this networking event? So paying attention to sort of your location, your locale, and bringing that to the surface, right? Because if you don't know what to say next, you'll say, hi, how are you? And then are you just going to stare at each other? So let's play that out. So I have my hands full. I say, oh, hi, Greg. How are you? My name is Mary Daphne.
I'm doing very well, thanks. I'm a big fan of your work.
Oh, thank you. So how did you hear about us?
So, I've been following this industry for some time and looking for opportunities to get in front of some of you because I think I have some products that might be of interest to you, the various people in your industry.
That's great. We should definitely set up a call sometime this week. Here's my card.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much.
So just email that address and we can set up a Zoom call.
Terrific. And here's my card as well.
Perfect. So my hands are now not full. Got the card.
I slipped it in your plate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that brings a good point. Like if your hands are full, what do you do? How do you accept the card? Just kind of like ask them to put it in your hand, right? These things, it doesn't have to go so perfect or smoothly. You can still be professional, but be, authentic and just show that you're human, right? You don't have to be like robotic.
And sometimes those goofy situations where if your hands are full and they're trying to give you a card, that makes the moment memorable, right? And so that can work to your advantage in terms of leaving a lasting impression. So approach all these social situations with some levity, right? Some
Humor
lightness, some
and
humor.
lightness.
Yeah, and that'll go a long way toward you enjoying it and the people who you interact with enjoying the interaction.
Exactly. And they'll keep you top of mind.
Yep.
All right. So that's a wrap for this conversation and analysis of first time introductions in a casual setting and in a professional setting. Comment below with your experiences meeting someone for the first time, be it virtually, on the phone, or in person.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, it was lovely chatting. We look forward to seeing you again in our next live stream. And until then,
We will see you later.
yeah.
Bye-bye.